Black Adam is the latest to come down the DCEU pipeline. It is a movie that not a lot of people thought we were going to get this year, myself included. With everything going on with the DCEU and Warner Brothers kind of scrambling, not only with the DC, just with everything. Don't even really get me started with them. I don't know. I just didn't expect to see this come out, and then I started to see trailers for it, and I really didn't get excited just because the trailers looked really uninspired and generic and kind of wishy-washy with what they wanted Black Adam to be. And yeah, I don't know. This movie really didn't have a lot of hype going into it. I wasn't that excited for it. Cam wasn't that excited for it. We were just going to go see it because I knew I needed to review it. And now we're here. And it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was a really bland, really tasteless, really dull experience that may have looked cool at times, may have, had a couple of nice shots, a couple cool action sequences, but it was buried under one of the most personality-less superhero films I've seen in a really long time. First thing you're going to notice about this movie is the editing choices and how unfluid the camera movement is. You definitely will hear a lot of movie critics talk about fluid camera movement and how great it can be. Guys like Wes Anderson or Steven Spielberg really do this really well, or at least they get DPs who can do it really well. Here, it's kind of the anti that. It's so choppy with its cuts and so weird with its blocking that it was really bothersome. Normally, I don't super overly nitpick this part of the movie. It's kind of in the back of my brain whether or not it was good, and then I just kind of rope it under cinematography. But the specific editing choices in this movie are so choppy and so all over the place that they kind of made some of the interactions way more awkward than they really should have been. And I don't really know if that's the fault of the screenwriter for writing really awful scenes that were hard to adapt to the screen, or if it was in the editing room where they just had no idea what to do with this big bloated mess of a movie and kind of just threw it together just to get this movie out here. I'm leaning more towards the editing room and maybe some studio interference with that, but man, some of the editing choices in this movie really, really were not just not it. I'm gonna say that they were not it. I thought the entire cast gave really uninspired performances. Really, I don't because so this movie is about 2 hours and 5 minutes. I think is the official runtime of it, and little to none of that is spent with time with the characters, with actually getting the audience to like these characters, to introduce these characters. Little to no exposition was given, which again, obviously, can be a double-edged sword. A lot of the times, exposition can be a dull thing, but there is absolutely zero setup to these characters. There is no hook to them, so you really get flat and unengaging characters. Whatever his name is, Noah something, why is he in this movie? Please get him out. He's not charming. He's not likable. He was super awkward, and he was kind of doing a Ryan Reynolds impression throughout this entire movie, and I just felt his performance did not work at all. Pierce Brosnan did not care throughout the entire movie. I don't know. And The Rock was just spouting NPC dialogue the entire time. I mean, he was just like just I don't know, like a robot saying catchphrases and backstories and this and this and that and that. And it was, I don't know. He made Black Adam such a flat and boring character, which I kind of knew was going to happen. The Rock plays the same character in all of his movies. He's either like the stoic, morally ambiguous guy, or he's super comedic and charming. And he was like the stoic dude in this movie, and it was really dull and lifeless. And the mother and kid in the movie also were not set up at all, and they kind of just accepted, like, oh, Black Adam is in my house. All right, let's okay, I'm gonna talk to superhero, and he's gonna be on my team all of a sudden. I feel like they really played up the dangerous aspect of Black Adam throughout the trailers, and that aspect was kind of really handled not well. I felt like he just kind of became a joke a little bit for some parts of the movie, and then he's kind of doing his own thing, and people are either trying to work with him or trying to capture him. The tone of this movie is all over the place, and it's kind of confusing to even talk about just because this the movie gives you very little to latch onto, and very much doesn't know what it's trying to do. It doesn't know if it's a team up superhero movie. It doesn't know if it's a anti-hero movie. It doesn't know if it's a political thing. It doesn't know if it's this, if it's that, if it's setting up this, and this. It is a giant mess, and really doesn't give you anything in between to make it enjoyable. I saw a lot of people just say, oh, just enjoy this movie. Let people enjoy Black Adam for what it is. I didn't find any enjoyment out of it, even, zooming out from its more obvious structural and story problems. I could not have fun with this movie just because of how bland it was and how little I was engaged with the characters and with the overarching story. Because, again, we've seen this kind of a movie a million times. It's been done to death since the early 2000s. The style and color grading of this movie really felt a lot like 300 at times, which was a weird choice to go down. I don't know if Zack Snyder had anything to do with this movie. I wouldn't be surprised just because of some of the weird visual choices throughout this entire thing. Another point I want to make is the ending. It really was kind of this patchwork schlock fest of 100 different storylines kind of clashing together, and then they expect you. One, who they set the villain eventually up to be was incredibly lame and forced, and really not developed at all. And the way a certain character relationship unfolds is really stupid. It acts like they've had movies before setting up these characters, and this was just kind of the in-between movie, and it's really not. And so you get really awkward moments of what should be really emotional and a sad time, like you're feeling for these characters because something is happening to both of them that they don't want to happen. They're like, oh, my old friend, but you just don't really care because their friendship was never developed. It was never really even a full aspect of the movie, so why should I really care at the end when it eventually unravels? So, yeah, that's my little review of Black Adam. There were some cool visual standpoints. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen in the entire world. I mean, it definitely had a vision at times for what it wanted to be, but it just got buried in a bunch of what I assume to be studio interference and tonal messes and being written by like 3 people. It seemed like a lot of like the too many cooks in the kitchen thing, that cliche. There were too many people who probably had a hand in making this movie because it feels like a lot of different voices were trying to protrude through, and none of them really stayed consistent throughout the entire film. So, yeah, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's not a Morbius. It's not a, I don't know, Amazing Spider-Man 2 level of bad. It's just, it's a pretty big miss for the DCEU, and I'm not really ever going to come back to this one. I'm going to give Black Adam a very, very light C-, bordering on a D+. Like, it's right there, but I can't call it that bad yet. I don't know, we'll have to see. So, yeah, that's my review of Black Adam. I don't really know what's going on with movie releases this week. I know Pray for the Devil comes out, and Cam wanted to see that. So, excuse me, that might happen. But other than that, I will see you guys with the next review.